For our viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is News Central's Continental Prime. I am Kofi Bartels. To begin in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has urged the recently appointed ministers to collaborate with him and each other to fulfill the aspirations of the Nigerian people through their work in government. He gave the charge during the inauguration of the 45 confirmed ministers-designate on Monday, held at the conference center of the State House, Abuja. The president reminded the newly sworn-in ministers that it is a high honor to be chosen to serve as Minister of the Federal Executive Council, while charging them to work as a team. The inauguration of the ministers comes less than a week after President Tinubu released the list of portfolios for the appointees, which was again reviewed on Sunday. Joining us live on the news to discuss this,
the challenges we face today are very daunting. Yes, they are. Yet, amidst these evident challenges, we have the opportunity to implement long overdue reform that will improve the operations of government, transform our nation's economy, and ensure peace, safety, and prosperity for our people. These are the objectives that underpin the renewed hope agenda. And these are the objectives that have inspired the selection of a lot of these distinguished ladies and gentlemen who are ministers by now. Minister of Federal Republic, you are. Not minister of a region or minister of a particular state.
interesting words from the Nigerian president, and of course he's really given the marching orders to the ministers there. But well, joining us live now, we can take that interview to discuss this. Professor of Political Economy and Development Studies, also the head of the Department of Political Science in the prestigious University of Port Harcourt, Professor Kikboye Aaron. Good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. We're also joined by a political analyst, Kate Palm Semler. Kate, good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Right. All right. Before we go to Professor, and I hope that we can get to hear from him sooner than later. Kate, finally, President Tinubu has his cabinet. Do you have confidence that this team can deliver a higher performance than what Nigerians have been used to in recent administrations?
Thank you very much for this quite interesting question. So far, from the cabinet list that we've seen, for some of the positions, when you look at their profiles, they have done well in their own rights, even though the general sensation or perception of Nigerians is that the decision was more political than anything. And so there's always that sentiment, or that the need for a democratically elected president to nominate ministers based on their performance during the political campaign. Whilst the political process is a different thing, it's a process of, electing our leaders. The job for leadership now is a different kettle of fish altogether. We need technocrats and people who can work. And so it's the ability of these people to be able to function like, in their various ministries to strengthen the institutions that they have been assigned, the portfolios that they've been assigned. That's what Nigerians, fingers are crossed to be seen. I believe that as Nigerians, the best that we can do is to support the team that we have leading at any point in time. So personal optimism, it's difficult to have high expectations when you have old wine in old wineskin. So there's nothing radical in the list of ministers that he's had. There are people that we've seen before. But let's hope and see that with the portfolios that they've been given, they will do even much better than they've done either as governors or in the various positions that they've held before.
All right. Kate, you're saying let's hope. Let me go over to Professor Kikboye here on. Prof, are you confident that we would have a high performance from these ministers compared to previous administrations?
Well, not at all, and I say so because I think the president has started on this very wrong footing by, first of all, an over-bloated cabinet of 45. I think it was supposed to be 48 on the whole. This is a time that Nigerians are really going through very difficult times. They wouldn't know that anyway. Nigerians are going through very difficult times, especially with the subsidy, petroleum subsidy removal, and the kind of effect that has had on people's lives. Now, we have that in place, and then in the face of that, we still have, I think, about or more than 20 special advisors, and then 45, ministerial appointees. And of course, you know that this comes at a huge cost. And people have been complaining for quite some time that the governance cost in Nigeria is extremely, high. And so if you ask me, if the president was interested in doing things differently, he would have started with probably lean executive the council. And as you know, to keep doing something to say, it's another definition of insanity. So in my opinion, there is nothing different from what we've been accustomed to for quite some time. And therefore, I do not expect to see anything different, especially so. Now, some of the people that we appointed, even some people with some 2 credit passes in WAEC, and that for me is scandalous to say the least. So politics came in the way, and that is to be expected in a political dispensation in Nigeria. Elsewhere, before somebody is appointed, if you listen to when the American president wants to appoint, let's say, the central bank governor, he will take the time to read. They could do some sort of almost like a citation, very rich resume. But in Nigeria, we just pick people and then give them very important positions. And at the end of the day, because they have little to offer, they end up devaluing the quality of our lives. So in my opinion, Tinubu has started just the same old thing, and I do not expect anything. There is no basis for any renewed hope as far as I know, and we have seen it over the past 2 months or so that, well, it's a continuation of, where Buhari left off in terms of hardship and perhaps even deeper level of hardship. So that's where we are.
All right. Kate, Palm Semlak said, Nigerians should have hope. We need to hope. She hopes that they can be high performers. And Prof, you're saying this is the same old story. The Nigerian president, has already taken some far-reaching decisions even before the inauguration of his cabinet. Kate Palm, do you see this as a sign that probably the ministers will not be relied on too much for policy advice by Mr. President?
Well, I don't. I don't think that this is a sign that he would not listen to his ministers, because it will be foolhardy for him as a president to go through all this trouble to nominate a team to work with, and he doesn't listen to them.
All right, Kate, I'm sorry, but you need to just step back from your screen a little bit so we can see your face fully. Thank you very much. Yes. All right, go on, Kate.
Better.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so like I was saying, it will be foolhardy for him as a leader. Every leader needs a supporting team to be able to implement, the policies that they're to be able to advise him appropriately. So if he doesn't listen to them and he runs on his own, it will be extremely difficult for him, because Nigeria is not Lagos. We see that Fashola did very well in Lagos. Fashola was, celebrated as a governor. But as a minister for works, there was not much to be said about his performance, because Nigeria is a giant, is a completely different kettle of fish to Lagos State. So yes, President Tinubu may have done well as a governor in Lagos State, but in Nigeria, he has to listen. And if he put the team in place and they're high performers, then he should listen to them and said the decisions that he's made. I'm hoping that it would be like we saw the previous president, Buhari, when he made some remarks on the day of his inauguration.
All right.
And he had to recant on some of them because of the implications of that.
All right.
I think that president...
Yes, thank you, Kate. Because of time, I'll need you both to make your answers very brief. I'll go back to Prof. Before the inauguration, Prof, of these ministers, these new ministers, there were some last-minute changes, rejigging of earlier ministerial portfolios assigned. Is this some sort of seeming indecisiveness by the president? Does it, serve as a sign to show that the president maybe he's not really sure of what he wants to do, or maybe he doesn't have a plan? Prof?
Well, I don't know whether you come across some allegations making the rounds about how people paid money in millions of dollars, and I say allegedly, and I'm not the one originating it. So it's possible that some people didn't play the ball so well, and then they decided to remove them. Or for some reason, some other person paid better money or something. I decided to take the person. So I may not know the reason, but what is important is that I think before you take the decision to appoint someone, you really ought to have done some due diligence checks and be satisfied that the person is capable of performing. It's actually embarrassing midway, and then you just withdraw what has been submitted. And to that extent, it will suggest that you really don't quite have a good grasp of what you're doing. So that's my view on the fact that some people will change midway.
All right. We would like to thank you so much for your time tonight on the news, right here on News Central. And of course, we hope to have you soon again. Kate Palm, political analyst, thank you. And of course, Professor Kikboye Aaron, who is a professor of political economy and development studies and head of Department of Political Science, University of Port Harcourt. Thank you very much for your time, both of you. All right.